is a Cosmic Octave original podcast.
Me and Jake running down the street with a handful of comic books, kicking ass and banging chicks and drinking booze
No, not
and
me.
smoking
Not
weed.
me. I'm married.
Yeah, well,
I'm married.
Jake.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler. Whoa. That was like stereo. I liked the panning.
We were nodding our heads like we were like freaking out, like what's happening? This is episode 162.
I'm Tyler Allen.
Well, that freaked me out. Don't do that again.
You're watching me do it. That was freaky.
Don't do it again.
Listen,
I don't like it. That's Tyler. I'm Jake.
I already said it.
No, they couldn't tell because you're doing. Who's supposed to know what that is, man?
That's Jake.
It's like doing. Look, I'm Tyler.
Jake.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right there.
You know.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
All right. Fair.
Thanks, Mark.
That's fair, Mark. Hey, a Marky Mark.
You know, M. Night Shyamalan has a new movie coming out.
Shyamalan.
It did come out.
Who's in it?
Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, what's it called again?
Trap?
Oh, I thought it was called Movie I'm Never Gonna Fucking See. Ever.
Wow.
As much as
that was the working title, but they thought it was too long, so it went to Trap.
It's an anagram for Tyler.
Really
Run
ain't
away.
It ain't
Powerfully.
What would it be? Tyler really ain't
playing.
Tyler
really ain't playing. Trap. No.
What do you?
So
that's really what.
That's real.
Listen, that's real trap music.
Hey. As much as I'm looking for, as much as I am clamoring for a resurgence of Josh Hartnett, just like the rest of America is. Good job in Oppenheimer.
Josh Hartnett's Naissance. We'll figure it out.
Josh Hartnessance.
Yeah, that sounds like a burger. I don't know where, but
we're going to give you some of our Hartnessance. That comes. You can get that on the side. It is a little runny, so we don't need to put it on the burger.
It's Hartnessance.
And then there's an egg.
Wow.
Bacon.
Wow.
And
wow, I'm sure someone probably really liked that movie.
Let's get some fucking burgers.
Yeah, I'm hungry. It's lunchtime.
No, I think we've made our feelings known about M. Night. I think I don't know how, but I somehow was able to see what was his first big one? Oh, Bruce Willis.
Unbreakable?
No. The one where he sees dead people.
Oh, no, Unbreakable was before that, wasn't it?
No, it was after. I know that because I saw Unbreakable in the theater.
Sixth Sense.
That
was his breakout.
It was like 2 years after it came out, and I somehow avoided spoilers.
Which is crazy because that movie was huge when it came out.
Right, but here's the thing. We didn't have the internet.
Neither did I.
Not really. I'm saying like there wasn't any...
Just word of mouth. Yeah.
Exactly, right? I don't know how, but every time like somehow like it would be known or it wouldn't be talked about a lot, but when it was like Tyler's,
Yeah.
So I actually got to see it with the twist and stuff. I didn't know. You know what I thought the twist is? Donnie Wahlberg is an actor now. First scene. No? Okay. And then I went and saw Unbreakable, and I was like, what is this fucking turd? This fucking turd of... My brother and I were like, yeah, let's go see this, because, it was about superheroes, and this was way before, I think even Spider-Man. I think even Sam Raimi's Spider-Man came out. So, like, way before, And it was like, oh, cool, this is cool. And it was not cool. It was not cool at all, because Shyamalan's got to do a twist. And like, fuck off, dude. I wanted to see the sequel, which is kind of a sequel to another movie of his. You know what I'm talking about?
Glass.
Is that it?
Well, there's Glass. There's also Split.
Yeah, so it's the sequel to Split, but also Glass.
Split came out before Glass.
And you kill David Dunn in a puddle.
Yeah, that was lame.
Eat it, Shyamalan. I have a lot.
You also did Old.
Yeah, I read about that. I don't need to. Yeah, I read the twist. That's real brilliant.
I have not seen that movie.
Yeah.
I've heard it's good, though.
Really?
I have.
By stupid people? I would definitely question the people who
Man,
are like,
you are a tramp.
old,
Tyler really ain't playing.
old
Tramp, son.
but M. Night anybody who says about any M. Night Shyamalan movie ever again, hey, it's pretty good, fuck you. Fuck you. You have just explained to me. You're like somebody I'm having lunch with, and they're like, well, I kind of like Ben Shapiro. Huh?
Okay, it's not that bad.
No, I'm just saying.
Don't ever put that on someone.
I've had that happen to me, haven't I?
It's crazy to think that there are really people that like that dude.
I know.
It blows my mind.
I know. Like, with no trace of irony. No, I'm just saying, listen. No, like, literally, they're like, yeah, I really, like, seriously? You're not, this isn't like a joke? No. But no, I'm serious, dude. The last good movie I saw of his was Signs, and that's because it was kind of comical. But then the big twist, they can't handle water. You're fucking dumb, all right? Just stop making movies, you know? Be a producer. Give money to people who, like, actually have good twists. Like, you know, like Ryan
Anyway,
Johnson.
I didn't mean for this to happen, but
Why? Why? Do you like Shyamalan? Do you like Shyamalan?
I watched his early stuff when I was younger, like Signs.
Signs is still pretty good.
I didn't really care for The Village that much.
I never saw that.
Maybe if I were to go back and watch it now, maybe I would.
What about
enjoy
Lady in the Water?
it. Never. I
Heard that was terrible.
I jumped off the Shyamalan train after The Village. Like I never really watched anything he did. I knew that Avatar movie was terrible.
Yeah.
I'd heard about Lady in the Water not being very good.
Well, okay, so
I'd heard that he had really like lost his touch.
The
now,
Village.
Again, I had not, to be honest, not fully watched The Happening,
Okay.
but I have seen
I've heard
tons
enough
and
about
tons
it.
of clips of
Yeah.
it that I can kind of just be like, I feel like I've seen this movie.
And
I would
don't
love to
need
rewatch it because that
Really?
movie is truly fucking insane. Like I can't believe that dude made that movie. And I would love to talk about retro reviews. I want to do a retro review
So
on that.
here's the thing. I've never seen that movie, so that'd be great. I'd love to do that.
I haven't either. I've mostly just seen clips.
Let's do that. But because we got a lull coming up here. But after The Village, everybody was turned off the Shyamalan train. Okay, they gave him, they were like, "Ooh, Unbreakable," and was pretty good, pretty well received. And then I think The Village happened after that. And then it was a couple years later that Lady in the Water came out, and I remember there was hype building up to it because it was like Shyamalan's back with and Paul Giamatti's in it. Okay, so that was like a big deal because he was just starting to be like a really like, wow, this guy is if he's in something, it's really good. And then it comes out and it's just a giant turd. I've never seen it, but I understand like what the premise is and all that, and it does sound like a turd.
Yeah.
But I mean, the best thing Shyamalan ever did was he inspired that Robot Chicken recurring
What a
sketch.
twist.
What a twit.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah, you should have known. I hate Shyamalan.
So here's the thing that we were supposed to talk about. So there's a little bit of news. We're going to mostly be talking about our retro review of A Scanner Darkly for this episode because we're kind of in the lull of summer. We really hit, for us anyway, for Tyler and I, Deadpool and Wolverine was kind of like the big movie that we were looking forward to. And we really said at the beginning of the season, we're like, Furiosa and Deadpool and Wolverine were really the only movies we cared to see.
I
those.
think like the next big thing is Creature Commandos.
I am curious to see. I am kind of tempted to see Alien Romulus because it does look really fucking good.
Yeah,
and
we
I'm
could
really
see
interested
that,
in
and that would be because I was just
It's in a
gonna
couple
say
weeks.
there's another movie. I mean, I'd be up for
Or
seeing
next week.
one
It's
more
next week.
movie
It's the
before the end of the year.
Well, it comes out next weekend, so we have to figure that out at some point.
But Creature Commandos is the next like big thing. We got kind of screwed because Acolyte and The Boys like ran concurrently almost.
yeah.
I mean,
So
literally,
we had so much content with that.
The Boys started with the first three
Well,
right
it's
before the Acolytes episode 4.
Yeah.
So then they were all of a sudden on
On time with each other.
dicks.
But and then you have to the thing with that is you have so much energy tied to these two shows during the week, and then once they're done, you're like, oh shit, and then you're just you get in that weird first world problems, I know, but you get in that little show.
There were a
hole,
couple
so-
times on Thursday.
So maybe
I'd
we
come
might-
home from work and I'd be like, what am I going to
So
do
who
after
knows?
work? The Boys is on.
Episode 163 might be Alien Romulus. We don't know. We'll figure it out.
we'll figure it out. You just
Just shut your mouth. So anyway, the news from this weekend that I thought was interesting was Borderlands, the the
Shit show?
blockbuster movie.
Oh, shit show.
Yeah, based on the video game series. Now, I am someone who has played the Borderlands games. I played the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I played a lot of Borderlands. I probably played the most of Borderlands 2. That's the one I played the most. But I played Borderlands 1. I played Borderlands 2. I played a little bit. I played a good amount of Borderlands 3. So I had a relationship with this franchise. I'm familiar with it. I mean, I enjoyed playing the games, but I was never... I enjoyed the sense of humor and the fun of it, but I never was, like, ultra passionate about it like some other game franchises, you know?
Yeah.
So when I heard they were making a movie, I'm like, okay, cool, that's interesting. And then I found out the cast news, and I'm like, wait, what? For starters, Jack Black being Claptrap. I love Jack Black. I love Claptrap. I don't care what voice he tries to do for this. It's just not going to fit for me because the guy who did Claptrap in the games was so damn good at it that I would love him in the movie. He's not going to be because he had a whole labor dispute with Gearbox, who owns Borderlands 2K and Borderlands. So yeah, he wasn't.
Well, you got to get star power for a shit show.
As far as I remember, there was a label dispute, and so he's not in the third game. So like, of course, he wouldn't be in the movie. I have not seen it. I had a friend that saw it and said it's terrible. And he has, I think, more of an attachment to this. I think he's played those games a lot more than I have. And he was like, no, it's shit. Because they try to, like, blend the story of the first game with the second game. And
with the characters from the second game?
Yeah, and they kind of, like, mixed and matched the characters from the game. Because, like...
You ever heard of Tank Girl?
So, yeah, I know. Yes, I have.
This reminds me of that a lot, even though one is based off of a graphic novel and this is based off of a video game.
Like, and that's the thing.
Hyped up, big budget
and
turds.
And the video games are, like... I'm not saying the humor and the fun of those games couldn't translate to a movie, but I think like there's a lot more to this movie other than the fact that it just seemed like from the first trailer. I am someone who has played the games. I am someone who would be like, it's like when that Fallout trailer came out. My first reaction was like, "Oh shit, yes, this feels like it's in the world. This feels like Fallout."
Yeah.
When I saw this, I'm like, this feels like it does have like the sense of Borderlands of that world, but it just feels like a fucking Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff because of the fucking classic rock choice, the humor choice of the trailer, just so much of it. I'm like, yeah, it feels manufactured. It doesn't feel like a genuine adaptation of those games.
As somebody who's never played the games, I can tell you as just an avid movie watcher, I knew the minute I saw Kate Blanchett's wig that it was a turd.
Again, why are we hiring Kate Blanchett and Jamie Lee Curtis and like I'm not trying
Kevin Hart?
And Kevin, especially for Kevin Hart, who Roland in the video games is more of a straight character, like to all the other zany, crazy shit that happens in the game. Roland is more of a traditional like soldier type.
So let's hire a zany,
and then you
wacky
get a fucking comedian
to play.
It's just choices like that. And look, I'm not trying to look.
I'd love to see it if
Tyler,
Kevin Hart
I'm not trying to be ageist. Listen, I'm not trying to be ageist and say like we got old people to be in this movie, but I'm just saying we could have injected. Like I just don't understand. It just screams of we were trying to hit focus groups. Like we know that like Kate Blanchett scores big with this focus group. We know that Kevin Hart scores big with this group. You know what I mean? And like it just again reeks of a studio. You can tell. Like, you could see it in that Fantastic Four reboot. You could see it in Suicide Squad, where something was cut to shreds by a studio to fit demographics and be a product. Not a movie, a product.
Yep.
And it's frustrating because I don't have like I said, I don't have a super close connection to that series. I did enjoy the games. I had fun playing them. But I don't have even I on the outside was like, man, this does not resemble this game to me.
Yeah.
And also, it's PG-13, and the fun of the video games was the over-the-top art style and gore. It was hard M. They were saying, fuck and shit, and there's blood and guts and like. And you got that for a PG-13, and it's just like Halo.
It's
alone just like Halo.
Screams, yeah.
It's just like Halo. Who the fuck are you making this for, dude? And it shows
some executive in a boardroom that's never seen or played the games.
And I say that out of frustration and no disrespect to anybody involved in terms of the actors, and they were just doing a job.
Honestly,
nothing
dude,
against them at all.
How many of them were just chilling out, and somebody showed up with a big fat check, and they were like, sure.
And I say this also
20 days of work? All right. A lot of makeup?
I also think Cate Blanchett is a great actress. I think Jamie Lee Curtis is a great actress.
Shit, Jack Black probably just did voice.
He did, but it's just like...
And got paid millions.
He's just doing video game movies.
What the fuck?
He made that joke. So we weren't the...
Wouldn't you?
I wasn't alone in my thoughts of thinking this didn't look great, or it just didn't seem genuine. So when these first reviews dropped on Rotten Tomatoes, now keep in mind we have our own belief on Rotten Tomatoes.
Sure,
it's whatever.
Sure,
but it's kind of crazy just because I don't think I've ever seen this before.
Right.
So opened at 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Now is that a critic or audience
score?
Okay,
critic score 0%.
And what is the audience score?
On Sunday, August 11th, as we record this, it is at 10%.
What about audience? Is there an audience yet?
Well, it came out. It just came out this past weekend. Right. Let's see. I'll pull it up right now. But again, regardless,
we're very aware of the bullshit involved in the whole Rotten Tomatoes scoring process. Sometimes we know that it's not an infallible system by any means, but it does give you pause. Like when something I really like has a low audience score, you're like, well, that's kind of weird. My first thought is that it's getting review bombed, and honestly, most of the stuff I like is getting review bombed by fucking chodes and cucks. Or whatever. What are they called? Yeah, chuds, whatever. Alt-right fuck faces. Anyway,
well, it just. But I only bring it up because I don't think I've truly seen something like that.
I don't think I've seen anything open at 0 and 10% after 4. Yeah.
It just shows like. And you could argue that, like, well, Deadpool and Wolverine isn't really much of a storytelling thing. It's more of a product. And I'm like, yeah, you could argue that. But even in that movie...
But there's heart in it.
Yeah.
You can tell the people who made it were really...
And as someone... again, my friend who had seen both movies, he said at least it felt genuine, Deadpool and Wolverine, whereas this just... feels like a studio put it together. People that didn't, just like the Halo thing, where they just didn't understand the audience and didn't understand your built-in fans of the book or fans of the games, and just.
Have you ever heard of Ishtar?
Audience score is 50%, so still pretty low.
Have you ever heard of Ishtar?
Ishtar, no.
It's a movie that came out in the 80s, and it starred Dustin Hoffman and Warren Beatty. Warren Beatty in a buddy kind of comedy situation, right? And when it was being made and it was, getting hyped up and stuff before the premiere, it was widely thought of as like, holy shit, this is just going to rake in the cash. Because these were two of the biggest leading men of their times, both critically and commercially. And it still is, I think, remains one of the biggest flops in Hollywood history. Because of the budget, because of the hype around it and everything like that. And it's the same thing, like you and I are both really big football fans, NFL football fans.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times, not so much in the NFL, but you see it like in the Major League Baseball where teams try to buy championships. We saw it famously like 10 years ago with the Washington Commanders, but they were called something else then. But they bought that guy, Albert something, that defensive Albert Haynes.
Yeah.
They gave him like $170 million or some shit, and he turned out to play like one game or something.
So,
I'm just saying that Hollywood, sports has told us, and you've told us yourselves, sometimes you can't buy a good product.
And so
no matter how much money you throw
not a lot
at
of people flock to see this thing. So $8.8 million is what it's looking at right now on Sunday as we record this. So not a lot of people saw this movie. Most people went to go see It Ends With Us, Blake Lively's movie.
What the fuck is that about?
It's based on a book. My wife's going to see it, so she read the book. So
From what I've understood from other ladies, they don't like that author. She treats her characters terribly.
I've heard it's a good book, though. So
I don't know.
I'm never gonna see.
She
the
writes
movie.
like a book a week.
So anyway, Borderlands. That story once leads me into something I wanted to talk about, where because we've had this discussion back and forth of like, where is
Are we doing best and worst video game?
No, it was more of a thing of like where can you think there's a good line of adaptation? Because I feel like video games, the best adaptations of video games that we have seen in the last, I don't know, 10 years, there's been a few movies, but it's mostly been TV shows because that format benefits to allow itself to go at the same pace as a video game would.
Yeah.
And where you can be like, okay, we can tell this story in 15 hours like we would in a game because we can have an episode that's an hour if we need to, an hour and a half.
Question.
Yeah.
Where do we stand on the two Disney properties, Tron and Ralph?
Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph. Because those are two movies based on not real games that I think spawned games afterwards. Are those considered video game adaptations?
No,
not really, are they?
No, because they started as movies. I'm saying is genuinely like is taking a
Because if
story.
we include those two are right up there. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying yeah,
I'm thinking
taking the narrative that you would from a single player game and how that would work. And again, I think it benefit. I'm not saying it can't be done in a movie, but the movie would have to be.
The recent Mario movie was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that can work. Like some things can lend themselves to that, exactly, but not like The Last of Us and Fallout
told me that
are
those were
so good because they're given the time to tell that story. They're given time as you would in a video game to develop that story.
It makes more sense with the video game format. Yeah.
It makes more sense. It's just again.
Didn't they make like an anime adaptation of Castlevania?
Yeah.
Okay, see, that seems like it would be a cool adaptation as somebody
There's
who
also,
played the original NES game a few times.
There's also
More than a few times. I lost some afternoons.
There's also a League of Legends one. I can't remember the name of it.
By the way, when you get far enough in Castlevania that you get like the long ass like big whip that's got like a chain and shit at the end of it, when you have to start off again with the little tiny little piece of rope, little thread, man, it's just demoralizing, man. You're just like, I don't want to go that far again. Okay.
And it's still, you think about it, I would say the 1995 Mortal Kombat is still probably one of the best adaptations. As crazy as it sounds. The most recent
one was pretty good, right?
Yeah, but
I saw it, but you told me, I don't know.
The problem is the whole Arcana superpower thing, because that kind of it does make it like a superhero thing where it's like that's not really how it is in the game. But honestly, at this point, it's like I hate to say this, and fanboys are gonna freak the fuck out when I keep saying this. It's just like Star Wars. At this point, I stopped giving a shit because you know what? They have Mortal Kombat has rebooted itself like 4 fucking times at this point, so I don't give a shit. So that's like, actually, as you say, maybe time has grown better on this movie for me because I'm like, who fucking cares? Because they don't care about their lore that much. So who cares that they have superpowers in this movie?
Can I just say,
but you're right.
Yeah.
The Mortal Kombat thing is still like those movies work. Even though the reboot and the one that came out in 21, I was like, why are we waiting until the next movie to do a tournament, whatever? But I thought that was kind of dumb because I'm like, the whole point of the fucking game is the tournament.
What are we doing?
But regardless, my point is those can work as movies because it's centered around a tournament, right? So that plot works. But something like The Last of Us is like that video game is like this that story is told over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And get ready for season 2, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did split season 2.
Oh, I gotta finish season 1
because they're gonna split it into 2 parts. We did. We finished season.
I never
1.
finished season 1. I didn't. I will.
Honestly, they released a trailer a little bit ago. Oh, there's some. Forgot to mention, real quick before we get into our review, D23 stuff.
Oh.
I saw leaked footage of Daredevil Born Again.
Oh.
And from what I saw, I am fucking ready.
Did it make your pants tight?
Yes. Can I like it's probably the trailer's probably going to come out soon, but I can I just tell you the big moment I'm like let's fucking go. So first of all, we see Deborah Ann Woll and
Foggy Nails.
Yes, Foggy. They're back. We see that. We see the dynamic of him. I think he was talking to Kamala Khan's parent, or like her dad, and he's like, because like the big joke at the end is like, how do you do that? He's like, I'm a really good lawyer. But the big thing at the end, it was like towards the end of the trailer, it was like supposed to be like the big like mic drop moment. Is you see a struggle, and I think I can't quite make out what he says, but I think he says, I need your help or something. And the guy, you see the arm holding him up is revealed to be John Barathol. And I'm like, oh my fuck, they really... Because I saw that had been rumored, but I don't think I'd ever seen anything official. And I'm like, oh my fuck.
I actually have read as much as a couple weeks ago that
I don't know how
he was coming back.
It was hard to see. It was kind of grainy. I don't know how much of this is real or how much of it is true.
No,
but if it is true, that's a big fucking get. Like, that's a big deal.
The last time I read about
I'm pretty
Daredevil
sure it was confirmed, though,
Born
right?
Again was the fact that Bernthal was returning as Frank Castle Punisher.
Yeah.
It was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
A month ago. As far as I knew, that was
also,
a thing already. I knew what had been rumored, but I thought it was confirmed a couple weeks ago.
But that's cool. Like, oh shit. And it's going to be interesting how they're going to...
Yeah, but again, subtracting the series that we just reviewed on previous episodes of Off Panel Off Topic, available wherever you get your podcasts. Honestly, the Punisher's a dumb character. It's dumb. It's dumb.
Wow.
Stop it. Stop it. Go away. Go away. Go away. Go away.
Wow.
Bernthal, you got better time. You got better shit to do with your time.
Oh yeah, that was real. Okay, I just got confirmation that that they did show that at D23. They also was shown is Harrison Ford turning into Red Hulk. But here's the best
Somebody
part.
tweeted about that yesterday.
Here's the best part. The footage showed that the presidential seal, and so he did it in front of a fucking podium. So like he made it public that the president is a superhuman.
Okay.
I'm like, whoa, okay, what are we doing? I gotta tell you, everybody, look, I had my reservations about Captain America Brave New World. I was really concerned just because of how many reshoots were happening. And again, just everything post-Endgame, how fucking all over the place they've been with their plans and where this is all going. But like, this movie is so interesting, and I think they're doing the right thing and getting back to what we really liked about those solo Captain America movies is when you turn Captain America into like kind of like this renegade spy, like this guy that's
covert operative.
Yeah. That's what we're tapping into with this, but then we're also touching with the idea of like, oh shit, there's a Red Hulk. The leader's in this somewhere. We haven't seen him yet.
I don't want to see him.
And I don't want to. I don't need to. He's in it, fine. I'll see him in the movie.
I somehow avoided all spoilers from Deadpool and Wolverine before I saw it.
I only had one, and that was the Calverine part. That was it.
I heard nothing.
Yeah.
But I was very proud of myself.
I know. I just think there's some interesting things coming out of D23 there. So yeah, it was. But I thought that was a really interesting choice. Maybe it was just, and it could be. You also have to think maybe some of this stuff gets like leaked on purpose,
right?
Where it's like, okay, this maybe isn't even in the movie. This is just maybe
test.
Just test footage that
right,
they like.
But we hear about him doing it in front of a podium. Do we know that there's other people in the room?
All I could see was him doing it in front of a podium.
That's what I'm saying. Is maybe Captain America's in the back of the room or something. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's nobody in there.
It looked
but
like it was
those two.
outside though.
Yeah, well,
like it was
fuck
like
off.
It was like in front of the White House.
Oh yeah.
Lawn. Okay, whatever. Yeah, because presidents never ever address anybody in front of the White House lawn ever. It never happens. Never seen it once.
That's not what I said.
pretty much what you're trying to say.
No, I'm not. I'm saying like
With that fucking attitude you
it
are.
doesn't.
You come
make
at me like
sense
that, dude.
for nobody to be around
I'll
outside.
walk right over
See,
that
if they
table
were
and
inside,
I'll hug you. All right. Anyway,
don't you fucking hug me.
don't you fucking hug me.
Don't you fucking hug me. I don't love you no more.
Wow.
Don't you fucking hug me. I'm laying on the floor.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Thanks, man.
Did you write that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just now. That's how good I am.
I'm so glad people hear this every week. You hear what I deal with. All right.
Hear what I deal with.
See? You can't help it.
I can't fucking help it. I just gotta sing.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
All right. So, yeah, since we've had a little bit of a lull period,
You could have said kill me on that one.
You know what I want?
That's where, because if I sing too much, that's where you should.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man.
You want to keep going?
Sure.
All right. So today, it's like we said, we have a little bit of a lull period.
Lol.
So
It's
we're
a fun
kind of
word to say, lol.
we're catching up on stuff that we haven't
It's
watched.
like Lil Wayne, but lol.
Man, the ADHD gremlin is just taking over you today, right?
But Lil is like
Goblin or gremlin?
short
What do you
for
prefer?
little. What?
I always joke there's an ADHD gremlin inside me. He's operating things.
That's weird.
That's you right now.
Do you need some medication?
Why am I talking like this?
Yeah, what?
Because we are
What?
here to
We're
review
here to review
a
a
Scanner Darkly. Well, retro review. This movie came out in 2006.
1976.
Wow. Well, the book came out in 77, 76, I think. Let me pull that up.
The movie came out in 1902.
You bet your ass it did.
Crazy special effects for its
July
time.
7th, 2006. is
Also,
when it
Keanu
was.
Reeves wasn't born until like the 50s, so that's crazy.
He was never born before today.
It was Keanu Reeves Sr.
Wow. So, Scanner Darkly came out July 7th, 2006. Written for the screen and directed by Richard Linklater.
The guy who did Dazed and Confused.
Starring Keanu Reeves, Robert Downey Jr., Woody Harrelson, Winona Ryder, and Rory Cochrane.
If I'm not mistaken, this was before Robert Downey Jr. took off as Iron Man.
Yeah, because Iron Man came out 2 years after that.
Yeah.
Iron Man and Tropic Thunder came out the same year.
Which
2
year?
years after this. Yes,
2008?
this is also like right after Kiss
Oh,
Kiss
God.
Bang Bang.
Yeah.
as
Kiss,
well.
great movie.
Yeah.
Great fucking
Yeah.
underrated.
So, interesting movie. You talked about it on this show before. That's actually what inspired it, because you talked about retro reviews, and then I went back in last week's episode, last week's episode,
Yeah, we had to.
and I went back and found it at the very end of the episode.
What was the other movie we were thinking of, though, in the parking lot? Because we were trying to listen to the show. Shit.
Oh God! It was. See, now we're gonna.
It was a cartoon, I think. Anyway. Let me, if I may, let me tell you how I came to this movie.
Oh fucking! Whoa! You just hit the mic, dude.
Sorry, bro. Everybody
Sorry
okay?
about that, everybody.
Maybe we can take that out.
No, they need to hear what
They
they need
hear
to
what
know
a
what happened.
Fuck up you are, you fuck.
I gotta say, Channing Tatum's Gambit memes are killing me right now. Woo! You know how long I've been waiting for something like this, yeah? I'm about to make a name for myself. Can I get that out of my fucking head? You just remember what happened here today. Anyway, Scanner Darkly. Sorry. You took too long.
So,
your relationship.
when this movie came out, it was really under marketed. Like, I don't even remember hearing about it coming out at all. I remember that I got it. I got the DVD through Netflix at the time.
when they delivered.
I lived in Denver, and I probably watched it like 2007 or 8, I think. But I remember reading. I think I had a subscription to Spin Magazine or Rolling Stone, one of those. But they reviewed it, and I read how many people were in it, and I'm like, holy crap, this sounds like something I would love.
Yeah.
And Philip K. Dick, is based Blade Runner's based off of his work, so whatever.
Yeah.
And I
Total
went.
Recall.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I can probably
Yeah.
get into this movie. And so I got the DVD, and it fucking floored me. And I read some behind the scenes stuff that it took like over 100,000 or however many
Yeah.
man hours, animator hours to make those scramble suits. And while we were just watching it, because you were finishing up when I got over here, I was realizing that not only did they have to make all of the different full body things to scramble up, they also had to make facial expressions and different movements of
To
arms
match what was happening.
right.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy fucking shit,
Also, I want to
yeah.
point out how this was shot. So yeah, this was shot digitally and then animated with rotoscope.
Yep.
So yeah, principal photography for this ended on May 17th, 2004. It
Yeah.
lasted about 6 weeks.
Yep.
So that's the thing that gets me. So artistically and narratively, I understand the choice, but it is something where this had to be a clear labor of love for
Yeah.
Richard Linklater. He must have really loved the book, because to go through that extra length to rotoscope it and animate it on top of things where you've already filmed a lot of this stuff
Yeah.
in real, actual. There are some
There's some moments that lend
Moments
itself,
where
like
you
the
see-
dude with all the eyes.
Yeah.
That's nice that it's rotoscope, so you can just add that post.
But
you
I
know?
understand the artistic decision behind it to give that appeal of that of our world but unnatural look to it, and
It gives you the feeling of being on drugs almost.
it it plays with your perception of reality.
Yes.
That's the whole point of the movie. And so and I understand the artistic choice of it, but that's what I mean. It just shows you it has to be a very real love of what this story was and what they could interpret on screen.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's because
I think the cast is great too. By the way.
maybe it's because we talked about this. The reason why it's so personal to me is that I've lost a lot of friends, and to drugs and alcohol. They're gone.
Yeah.
They're gone from my life, and I'll never get them back. And that's where I get that personal connection to this movie.
Yeah.
But I bought the book, I read it, and there's that final coda at the end, that final message that just always gets me every time, because
Yeah.
it just makes me realize the music doesn't help, you fuckers. But it's also a bummer of a fucking ending.
Yeah.
We'll get there. It's one of my top 5 movies of all time. Again, because it has such a bummer of an ending, it's once maybe a year, if that, because you really have to be in the mood for it, and you have to be ready for that ending. I
Yeah.
have to be ready for that
Yeah.
ending, because I know I'm going to have to need about 10 15 minutes afterwards to compose myself and redo my makeup.
Yeah. Well, and that's what that ending is something that sticks with you, just because of the context of this story and understanding that this story is he's Philip K. Dick is quoting everything that is in that I saw, because he was heavy into the drug scene, especially the psychedelic drug scene. He's talked about a lot in his books about psychedelic drugs and things like that. So he was frequently in that
The way that
acid stage.
The
in
way
the
that I read
70s.
it was that his wife left him, and then he started welcoming, street people and drug users into
Yeah,
his home.
That's what he
because,
phrased it as, yeah.
And that's when he became embroiled in it, because he was around it all the time. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't just join up or whatever. But yeah, all the people that he talks about at the end of the movie, at the end of the book, are real people that he knows. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it is a tragedy when you see, people in the throes of drug and alcohol abuse, drug and or alcohol abuse, and they're not mutually exclusive. But it's sad when you lose somebody, because, I lost my job on Monday, and there's a part of me, as, recovering alcoholic, that has, there's a small part of me that's been like, hey, maybe we should take up drinking again. And why? Honestly, that's my first question, is why? What exactly would that do for, it never numbed me enough when I wanted it to, when I was heavily into it. And I know it wouldn't help me now. Like, the problems would still be there tomorrow, and I would feel like shit besides. So, and then I'd be like, $20, out for the beer and the smokes, whatever. So, no, I'm not going to. But, alcohol, addiction is not easy to deal with.
Yeah, and it's something.
It's always kind of going to be there with you.
That's something that a lot of recovering addicts talk about. It's just like, that's a struggle you're going to have the rest of your life. That itch will be there, But how this is tied more to Dick personally. This is just some stuff I was reading about. His wife left him in 1960 or 1970.
It's like his fourth
like
wife.
you said, he said he got mixed up
way.
with street people.
Yeah.
Just to have somebody to fill his house.
Yes, he still had. I think he won the house in the divorce, and that was it.
So I wanted
something.
to tap into the drug use of this time. So during this period, he ceased to write completely. He became fully dependent on amphetamines, which he had been intermittently for years.
He was a pill popper.
He quoted saying, "I did take amphetamines for years in order to be able to. I was able to produce 68 final pages of copy a day," Dick said. So the character Donna was inspired by an older teenager who became associated with Dick sometime in 1970. Though they never became lovers, the woman was his principal companion until early 1972 when Dick left for Canada to deliver a speech to Vancouver Science Fiction Convention. So, again, just kind of tying that to his real life.
Yeah.
But so after that, so like a lot of this has to deal with stuff with like New Path of like his idea of it comes from around that time. Because after he went to that speech, that's when he was in the Calais.
Yeah, he went to a rehab place
Which is a rehab thing, which was the inspiration for New Path.
Yeah. And the thing about Dick is, I love saying it.
The thing about Dick.
I just love saying the thing about Dick. No, but all of his books, all of his stories, from the time he started writing until he died, are all playing with perception, playing with reality, what is real and what is not. And when you get right down to it, I mean, how many times have you woke up from a dream and you still have that vibrancy, that whatever of the dream, even though you're awake.
Yeah.
You still remember it almost as vividly as if it were reality, right? And how many times in your dream do you think, oh my God, like I have a recurring dream about crashing my car. Yeah. And every time I know that it's about to happen, but I can't do anything about it because I'm either doing something, whatever. It's just kind of one of those things, but it's vivid.
Well, your sleep paralysis.
Whatever. It's vivid.
That could be a part of
no,
it.
I'm saying like, you know what I mean? It's oh shit, I can't believe I'm doing this again. It's probably, I'm sure that a psychiatrist could go crazy on that. But the point is that, there are moments in our waking life that feels dreamy, feels like it's not real. There are moments in our dream life when it feels like reality. And when you take drugs, as I did, and drink heavily, whatever, that plays with your perception. And so naturally you start thinking about, when I was drinking heavily, I had trouble remembering conversations that I had between conversations that I imagined a lot. So I would like think that I had a conversation with somebody about something and resolved an issue, and the next time I saw them, they were still dicks, and I was like, I don't understand. And it was because I imagined you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had trouble with that a lot, and I still do sometimes. But the point is that our brains are incredible mechanisms that we don't know shit about, like jack shit about. We know kind of like one of the things in the movie is right and left hemispheres are competing, and what they say is like your right brain is damaged, so the left brain's trying to make up for it.
Yeah,
which makes sense for like when he sees Donna instead of what's her name.
Let's
get into the movie.
Yeah, well,
but that's where the movie is based in, is reality perception.
Yeah. So like the whole thing with this movie, I I wanted to talk about, before we get to that, it's just like because did Linklater do Slacker?
I think so.
I want to say he did Slacker. But what I think is interesting about this story, and you think about it in the broader scheme of like Philip K. Dick novels, and you think what he was able to inspire with Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep into Blade Runner and Total Recall and things like that, where there's a lot of crazy action and crazy cool shit in those, where this is a lot more toned down, and this is a lot more, and again, because it is written from such a personal place, a much more intimate story. And
there's sci-fi elements, but
sci-fi,
it's generally
there's still
grounded.
scramble suits and shit like that, and there's drug hallucinations and things, but for the most part, it is one of the more grounded stories from Philip K. Dick, just based on what I've been exposed to.
Yeah,
with
and
those.
I've read the book, and you're right. It's very
and
grounded.
I was just looking at it, and the movie is very close to the book. And I think that, like you were talking about how you felt like this is Keanu Reeves' most human performance, and I could see that because
best.
Honestly, because by the end of this movie, it's fucking tragic. By the end of this movie, I was like, son of a bitch. I was just like, wow. And you know what? I loved it for that because it stays true to its early fucking sci-fi roots, man. If you go back and read like fucking Bradbury and you read Philip K. Dick and you read
Asimov.
You read there's always
Clark.
There's always a moral dilemma, and at the end, the person that is wrong is punished.
Yeah,
and it's crazy. But then you realize, wait a minute, even the person that wasn't wrong still gets punished. Or no, it's excuse me, I said that wrong. It's in the inverse. Whereas you think the good person always wins, the person in this case it isn't.
Yeah.
The good person is punished because, like, the whole point of the story is he was a part of this that he was not willing to be a part of.
Well, and one of the things that always strikes me about the moment when she drops him off, and the guy comes out, the two technicians, the two orderlies, and they're kind of talking shit. They're like, "Oh, another loser, another burnout," and you think about like, well, that's no way to treat an addict, but then then you start putting yourself into the place of those guys who do this all day, every day, maybe. And after a while, you're like, I'm sick. It's after a while they themselves have to brace themselves against that and dissociate themselves. Yeah. And they have become that, whether or not they wanted to, because it's easier than feeling compassion or empathy for these people who have largely fucked up their own lives.
But here's the thing.
How do you say that?
No,
right?
but see, that's the thing that's interesting.
But that's another part of it.
And that's what I think is so interesting about this. They make so you spend majority of the time you're spending with Bob and Barris and
I can't remember Woody Harrelson's name.
Woody Harrelson's character. Freckle. No, Freckle's the burnout with the. Freckle's the one where the movie starts.
That's Freck.
Freck starts with the movie with the bugs.
Yeah.
So I want to say this too. Can I just get back to the very beginning of this movie? I have not seen this movie. I know of the content of the movie, so I know that it's about drugs, and I know it's something with drugs, and I knew it was about like psychedelics and shit. And I knew the backstory. But it starts in a scene where I wasn't, like you said, it was like, it kind of was like, did you think you were like, you thought I was going to be freaked out by it or think it was weird or something? Right. And I was just laughing because I'm like, oh, it's just him having, the whole time, I'm just like, oh, he's just having a bad trip. Like, you know what I mean? And even though it's the way that it's animated, the bugs are supposed to be real, but I just thought that was so funny because I'm like,
Luckman.
Ernie Luckman, okay.
Yeah.
The whole scene where he's shaking off the bugs and then goes in the shower, and then it's just a funny moment where he stops and then shakes and then all fucking come out again, and he sprays himself and then it's popping out of the
with the fucking
and then he calls Robert Downey Jr. and he's just calm about it, and he just goes, just pick him up, put him in a jar, come over, don't worry about it. And then as he's, oh my god, this scene where he's driving and he hallucinates getting pulled over and some dude just blowing his fucking brains out, it's so funny. And that's what I mean. This movie has
We've all
the
imagined
tone,
that.
like it has the Linklater flair of so much humor and fun and mundaneness, and then it takes such that crazy turn. Like it's always in there, it's always underlying throughout the movie. But when it finally hits, I'm assuming just like the book, you're like, fuck, because even on all that stuff with the burnout stuff and it's all fun and games, you still feel like Bob needs an out. Bob needs to get out because Bob is becoming addicted and Bob is losing reality. And
right, you know almost from the beginning, after that whole set piece with Freck and his dog and the aphids.
Yeah.
But you know pretty much from the get-go that Bob Archer is a double agent. But you also get the sense almost immediately that
because
the
you
guy
see him,
who's
but when
the
you
cop,
first see him, he's in the scramble suit.
right?
too.
But you also get the sense almost from the get-go that the guy who's the cop and the guy who's Bob Archer are not aware of each other, or rather, he has compartmentalized himself to the point where when he's in the scramble suit, he is Fred, the cop, and when he's not, he's Bob Archer, the undercover drug guy or whatever. That's almost from the get-go.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah. So right away you're like, what's going on with this guy? Because he doesn't
jump around a little bit.
Yeah. And even later on in the movie, he says,
So that's what I mean. So let me ask you this: is that because?
Excuse me.
Is it because of his exposure to the scramble suit and the substance D that it was fucking with his perception of reality?
I think by the point we see him, he's already fucked by substance D.
And the scramble suit.
No, the scramble suit. I'm saying that
He's already been in it pretty too long. At this
no, the
point.
scramble suit doesn't have anything.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying like when he puts that on.
But did he? But my question is, did he? And I'm sure this is never answered. Let me ask you.
Yeah.
I want to get to this point.
Yeah.
Did he think? Was he having a clash with him being Fred and Bob, where he imagined having his family, or did he actually leave his family?
I think Bob Archer really had a family. But then the question I have is at the end when Hank says, no, you're not supposed to. Like, I don't know. I really don't know. Because he hallucinates that at one point, or he remembers it at one point, that his house.
Because there's a
with the wife
moment
and the kids,
after Robert Downey Jr. shoots the fucking silencer off.
Yeah.
He wakes up in a fervor because he heard the gun, and then he stops
He
and
sees
he takes some
house the way it
substance
was.
D,
Yeah.
and then he starts walking and he goes. Then he starts a narration of I remembered my family, but they were
Right.
and I wanted them gone, and now they were gone. Like he hits the back of his fucking head.
Right.
This is what trips me up. So he hits the back of his head. And he goes, motherfucker, and he freaks out, and that's when he like snaps. And my implication is when they creepily walk in, like, "Daddy's everything okay?" That's him snapping his own brain, his fucking fight right with the left and right side of his brain.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going on, and he is realizing this is a dream. This is fake. This isn't real. So I don't think he ever had a family.
I think
it's all manufactured in his head.
I think one thing
that's what I love about the story. You're not supposed to know.
After having seen it multiple times, I think one thing you can
What do you think
take
of my
almost
take on that?
immediately. Yeah, you're right. But that's the best part about this movie is that having seen it once, every subsequent viewing, you know from the get-go that Bob Archer thinks he's Bob Archer, but when he's, in you can almost see it in the body language when he takes the suit off and has the street clothes on.
Yeah.
He thinks that he's two different people.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
So Bob Archer, when he's Bob Archer, doesn't feel like morally wrong about what he's doing because he's a criminal.
Yeah.
But when he's in the suit, he doesn't think about popping D because
But he does.
that's not a real human being.
Yeah.
He
does
compartmental-
once while he's in the suit. Though.
Right. He compartmentalizes himself to the point where he thinks he's two different people so that he can allow himself
He
to
disassociates
do what he
the-
needs to do in each guise.
because it's for the greater good.
Which the big twist being that Donna was his fucking superior the whole time.
Yeah.
Which totally blew my fucking mind the first time I saw it. I was like, holy shit.
Which makes sense is why she didn't do the D and why she never fucked him.
You almost start to see the twist coming during that last. Like I was telling you, it's a close up of the scramble suit over and over again.
Yeah.
And there's
you can see like a skull.
yes.
At one point.
And there's like there's stuff thrown in like aliens and like people with like bloodshot eyes. Like it's not normal.
Yeah.
And that is meant to kind of give you that sense of discomfort, like he's in the chair, like
Yeah.
trying to get out of the chair.
Yeah.
If you've ever withdrawn from anything, oh boy, it's a lot like that. And
I've never
but I just love it.
I've never taken any substance that I've been addicted to where that I've had that, but I've had moments when I've been high where I have had that unease where I'm like, I don't like this situation. Like, I've been paranoid on drugs before. I think anybody that's done any drugs before has had that paranoid thing.
Yeah.
So I know, like, I identify with that moment a lot too. Of like, I've been there. Where like, you're like, oh man.
And the bad trip that Freck
And
has.
I'm talking about like, I'm talking
dude.
about like smoking weed, have a fucking pop can, and your parents, you
Yeah.
see your parents, and you're like, oh fuck,
If I stayed very still, they won't see me.
Well, I'm just hoping he doesn't look at my fucking eyes. I'm just like, you know what I mean?
The first time you ever talk to your parents when you're high, you're just like,
And
you're trying so hard to be
think
normal.
About every fucking word you're about to say, you're like, you better be as calculated as ever in any response.
You think that you're like, hey mom, what's happening? But you actually sound like this. Hey mom, what's happening?
Yeah, your volume is fucked. You don't realize it. Oh my god,
You're trying so hard to be normal
I've
that you're
had that.
clearly not. I'm just gonna go take a nap.
I always joked to my friends that if ever I was like,
Boy, I'm tired.
if I would ever hang out with my friends and get high and then come home and like it would like,
Wait till
and,
they're
like, and
in
everybody.
bed.
Well, no, if it was like during the day or something, and people are in the house, I was like, just fucking get to the fridge.
Yes,
So
yes.
here's what I say: get to the fucking fridge, see if there's some milk, get yourself a bowl of cereal, and get the fuck out of there, man. Is what I would say, and you better believe every time I just like. And just fucking go to my room, eat this bowl of
Nobody's
cereal.
gonna catch me. Nobody's gonna catch
That
me.
was like my comfort. That was like my center.
But yeah, I've come down off coke, which is just about. That's just being really depressed and wanting more coke. That's not like hallucinogenic. I have detoxed off of alcohol. Sorry,
There's something going
stop
on.
touching it.
Yeah.
I have detoxed off of alcohol more than a few times, but I don't think I ever had like. You ever heard that movie Harvey with what's his name Jimmy? It's a Wonderful Life. Well,
Jimmy Stewart.
Yes,
Jimmy
Stewart.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But there's a movie.
I don't know, Tyler.
I was Mr. Smith goes to Washington too.
See, my Jimmy Stewart
but he
gets
was
too
in a
close
movie-
to Don Knotts.
Right. He was in a movie called Harvey. And Harvey's about a guy who drinks too much and he has an imaginary huge bunny. And you've like heard like stories about pink elephants and stuff. In fact, in Pittsburgh, in Pennsylvania, there's a beer company called Pink Elephant Brewing, which fantastic. Way to go, guys. And that's centered around people who have had problems with detoxing from alcohol. They see what there's a common myth of the pink elephant or something like that.
That was the
beckoning you to-
symbolism of the elephant thing where they do the sensory thing with his hands. Was that supposed to be a nod at that?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. But another movie that is really great to see, which is really good about alcoholism, is The Days of Wine and Roses. It's from the 50s or 60s, starring Jack Lemmon. And it is the closest thing I've ever seen to what it's like being in a toxic relationship and one dependent on not only each other, but on a substance.
I want to talk about a couple things. One, I think Robert Downey Jr. is fantastic as Barris.
So
I think
good.
the cast in general is
I could
really
be
good.
murdered.
Yeah. Luckman, Woody Harrelson's great. The whole scene when the car breaks down.
Yeah. So fucking
I love
crazy.
it because this is a moment of the story where there is a moment of hesitation when you're talking about where the Bob side of this is starting to intersect with the Fred part of it because he's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to do it.
Mhm.
And then my favorite thing about it is like I have been in that I've not been in a situation like this, but I've been in a situation where someone was like, do you ever think maybe it's because we do this? And then some of your other friends goes, no, man, don't blame this. Even though that is the problem, whatever it may be, booze or drugs, whatever it is. And it's like, it made me laugh. That's what I mean. It's like, it's The movie does a really good job with its twist and kind of coaxing you into like, oh, this is just another burnt out drug story.
Yes.
If you hadn't read the books or seen it before, like me. And then the twist happens, and I'm just like, shit. And I'm like, oh, okay. And again, I love the fact that it sticks to the sci-fi roots of a tragic ending. And as shitty as it is. And you know what? When I was watching it, when I was like, damn, it broke me, is when they kept saying things to him.
Yeah.
And he was just responding with no emotion, no response. Bob is dead, and this is Bruce.
Yep.
And this is it.
Yeah.
And it's like, fucking shit. And then he says, maybe he saves the flower because he'll see them on Thanksgiving.
The idea is that hopefully he does bring that back, and then they're able to blow it all open. But when I got out of high school, I think you probably did too. We got off a week before everybody else, the seniors. And I already had my own apartment because my buddies and I got an apartment rental and we were all 18. So 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks that we were there in high school, all the parties were at our apartment. And we somehow collected all that summer and into a little bit into the next year, we somehow collected all these random fucking people who would just hang out for like days at a time and then disappear. Just random people like who came over for a party and just chill out. Or they came over to bring some acid and they're like, oh, I'm just going to chill over a little, whatever. Or they become the roommate somehow because one moves out. Your original roommate moves out.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly I fucking lived.
Yeah.
So this also touched me in that respect that when they're driving back in the tow truck and he's talking about the shit that he did to his house, I used to remember that shit all the time. Like, what did you do to my place while I was gone? Like, what were you doing in my room and shit?
Yeah.
Like, some fucking...
You put a sign on the door that the door's unlocked?
Some fucking skid fucking sleeping on my fucking couch going into my fucking room and shit. Like, get the fuck out, dude.
Yeah.
And you had to deal with it sometimes because they got really good drugs or they could buy you beer or something.
Yeah.
But I absolutely resonated with all those aspects of it. When they're doing the fucking silencer shit outside.
Oh, dude. Dude, that or the fucking bike scene made me laugh.
You just want
when
them
he
to-
thought he got gypped on the fucking bike.
Because they start
bike.
doing the math and shit.
Yeah. That's a funny scene. And then he's like, no, we're going to take it out on the street, get other people's perspective, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Like, just like, it's such a stupid fucking thing that you would do with your friends. Like,
Yeah.
It's a very believable scene.
When they go from play fighting into like serious fighting outside, and then Freck shows up, and then they just turn on him.
Yeah.
That is totally like being with your friends and shit. You don't know if your friends are like being really like honest, but it's like, oh my god, it's escalated somehow.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
So what did you think about his like what he did to Luckman when he like poisoned him?
Oh, when he choked?
Yeah.
When he was choking?
Yeah.
I remember watching it and just being like, what the fuck is going on?
You makes you think that he poisoned. You makes you think he did
I knew he was
something to
choking.
him. Yeah.
Just regular choking, but it was clear that Barris is not going to help him, which is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and then you see, him being in the suit being like, Jesus, Barris.
I think it just proved that Barris is just a sociopath or what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just proved that. If there is a villain in this story, it's him. If there is.
He kept
between him or
he kept
New Path.
enabling Freck's addiction. He kept.
Oh yeah, every interaction he has with Freck is like he's toying with him.
Yeah.
Every interaction.
Yeah.
Everyone.
So he says, collect the bugs, bring them over here, and it'll be fine. And then when he's over there, he's like, yeah,
Did you have a friend of like two? Did you have a group of like two friends that you hung out with, like two guy friends, and there's three of you, and one's like the total dick and kind of the leader,
Yeah.
and then there's the one guy like Bob who's like just the chill dude, and then there's a guy like Luckman who's like just crazy.
Yeah.
I had friends like that too, man, and it was like, there's just times when it's just exhausting. You're like, why are we driving all night
Also,
to get to Des Moines?
now
to go
that
to
I know-
this stupid fucking show.
Now I know the twist. It makes so much more sense why Donna was always so close to Bob the whole time.
Yeah.
Makes so much more sense.
But yeah, obviously, to me, I mean, I think as humans, as social creatures, whatever, there's always the idea that if it's a woman character and a man character, who are single and both,
it's just
straight.
storytelling. You're like, you're about to be, like, they're going to hook up.
But then they don't, and then you're like, okay, it's either for the story or we just forget that that's very possible. It's absolutely possible for man and woman to be friends without having sex. But
it's
but in this movie, it's kind of inferred that there's a reason why Donna, and the inference until it's revealed why is that she doesn't like to be touched.
Yeah.
But then it's revealed that it's because she was his superior.
Yeah. Yeah.
She didn't want to have to make him salute in the morning.
Conflict. I mean, it's nice
I'm
to see.
saluting with some part
It's
of my
nice
body,
to see
Donna.
that she has some remorse at the end, when she's like, Jesus, that's even we're pretty cold or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but it still doesn't make up for the fact that you fucking did this to this guy. Like, you still did it. And
it's also a commentary on the war on drugs.
it is absolutely that's the whole.
What have we cost? What cost? And what have we really done?
And I understand the message of it, and it still rings true. It's like what it says at the end. Like, these people were punished for not what they did. It's like look around at this fucking planet we live on, and don't tell me that you wouldn't get fucked up, whether it be booze or weed or whatever to get you fucked up. Like,
it gets you through the fucking day.
I've always said, and you know what I've always said, and you know what we should be doing when we talk to addicts and we talk about why they did the substance abuse? Maybe ask the situation they were in that led to that. Maybe think about that and stop accusing. Like, his whole thing is like, stop calling it a disease. It is a choice, but but his thing is like, it's the same as a choice of walking in front of a moving car.
Right.
Like, it is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
But again, think of the circumstance. What led to that?
There's a
You know
lot
what
of
I mean?
there's a lot of school of thought in scientific circles right now that the whole alcoholic for life, all that stuff, addict for life. There's a lot of thinking that's not necessarily true. That that every addiction is a result of some childhood trauma that is unaddressed, and I do believe in that to a point, because I don't have cravings anymore. Like, again, when my brain was like, hey, maybe you should start drinking again, the little part of my brain, this is how far away I am. The little part of my brain that thought that was like, are you serious? Why?
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just not. It just doesn't. It's not an option. I don't have So when you think about how I was and how I am now, I think there's very definite evidence that maybe not everybody is an addict for life. Maybe we got to stop lumping everybody into one pool and stuff, and maybe start separating them out that way. But definitely, if we're talking some sort of childhood trauma, we have to use compassion.
Yeah.
Of some sort when we're dealing with addicts of all sorts.
Well, and I had someone
that even means shopping addicts, folks.
I had someone very close to me that had to go to rehab and deal with that, and I love him like a brother, and I told him the same thing. I was like, I'm not here to judge you for what happened. I'm here to tell you that I'm glad you decided to get help and get this taken care of. And so many people are so fucking judgmental about it. And look, man, again, think of the context of the situation. And again, like you just said, everybody has their own autonomy. Everybody makes choices. Yes. It is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Yeah. And I myself am saying that to myself. I know there's some things that I don't deal with and I should deal with, but and it's just, and that's what I love about this story of you can tell it came from him, loving having friends, and like you were talking about losing. I haven't had that happen to me, fortunately, but I understand, because I have had friends that have battled addiction, so I understand the sentiment of the story behind it, and it is sad. Yeah. Because you think about the crack epidemic, and you think about the fucking opioids and the fentanyl and all this stuff. Like, it's never the people that get addicted to its fault, man. And I know they made that choice, but at the end of the day, When you look at the broader
A
scheme
lot of these,
things,
you just have to take it once.
Let's be mad at the fucking pharmaceutical companies that make these intentionally addictive drugs.
Yeah.
Let's be mad at them for getting us hooked on that shit.
I've been hooked on nicotine for fucking 30 years.
Yeah.
Jesus, 30 years. How the fuck am I still breathing?
It's just it's an interesting. That's what makes it such a good story and interesting stories. It makes you kind of question and think about this stuff in a broader
really
way.
Trying to do? Yeah, what are we really trying to do to solve this crisis?
There is a choice to be made, and there is also context to choices, but I just feel like too much of it is this angle. Rehabilitation should be about reaching out to someone and telling them there's something wrong and this is going to kill you and I want to help you.
No.
But
you have to allow the addict to reach out for help. That's the problem.
They have to yes, you're right. They have to admit it.
They
yes.
never do.
Yes. They have to.
That's the issue, is that the addiction will make you think that you don't.
You can't help somebody that doesn't want to help themselves. You're right.
It's a tragic thing.
Yeah.
But that's why we hopefully, I don't know why I keep...
Well, I just feel
that's
like
why
there is a little bit of an obligation to reach out, I feel like, at some point and just be like, look, I don't know.
The best thing you can do as an addict in recovery and whatnot, and an alcoholic, my best advice to you, if you're listening to this and you think you have a friend who has a problem, is to very politely ask them if everything is okay and if they need anything or if they need to talk. Other than that, any sort of like suggestion that they have some sort of problem with whatever.
Right,
I mean,
you're right.
Listen, now if they kill somebody with like in a car accident, that's different. If you're just talking about somebody who drinks way more than they should, obviously you want to help them, but I think the best thing you can do is leave it open-ended to them, and just try not to be judgmental. And if you say like, hey, I feel like you drink too much, maybe after they get into their second DUI, that might be a good idea.
Right. I mean, I think that you're right. I think if
you hire somebody to do an intervention, so it's done with professionalism.
Yes, you have to do it with a certain tact, correct.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's
for sure.
But I love the idea that your first thought is to help your friends, and that to me says a lot, because some people just ignore it. And all you need to do is, the fact that you're wanting to say to your friends, "Hey, are you okay?" That's all it takes sometimes is maybe they've never been asked that.
And then if it gets worse, it's be like, man, this is like after that second DUI, I'd be like, I think you should probably stop.
But sometimes it's as easy as just, hey, are you doing okay?
Yeah.
You know what? No, man, I've been drinking a lot. Like, holy shit, cool. I can help you. If you need help, whatever. But I think it's such a big part of our world that we don't talk about. It's really stupid. Anyway.
Yeah.
Love you, man.
Yeah,
I love you, man.
Well, my instinct to that is always that I think there should be more help than hurt. Yes. And because
judgments
a lot of the
need
times,
not apply.
A lot
to
of
this
the
shit.
times, the people that are addicted to drugs they're usually running from something worse.
Yeah.
Like you said, it usually always leads to some sort of trauma that goes unaddressed, and which again, all the more reason to go to therapy. Now, I'm not saying.
You can afford it.
No, we both
And if
are.
it's available
We are
in
both
your
people that believe if it's legal and you can, it's like if you want to eat a gummy or smoke a vape, where it's fine,
Whoa.
go for it. If you can if you can have a few beers and that's it, and you don't get
my
you're not addicted to it, that's fine. Everything is fine in moderation.
Yeah,
is what we're trying to say.
My thing is like when it comes to marijuana, it's like, okay, look, I've never heard of anybody overdosing on it, because the worst thing you can do is like eat a whole bag of Cheetos to yourself. And pass out. Like you can't die from it. Maybe lung cancer, like way down the
know
what I mean?
You don't fucking know what you're getting, and
exactly. Yeah. So I mean, that's why. But alcohol. I mean, yes, there's the argument to be made that if you're behind the wheel, and you're high on marijuana, that you were whatever. But I would much rather have a road full of high drivers than a road full of normal drivers with like two drunk drivers.
The worst.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The worst traffic jam ever.
Oh my God. How come nobody's going? Because we fucking forgot how, bro. I thought we were having a Dead concert.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
Well, that's
That's
been our
the-
review
that's the
of A
sheriff.
Scanner Darkly. Very serious ending.
Can I suggest, because that just reminded me, if you are just hanging out bored as fuck, go to YouTube and look up the Dave Letterman top 10 lists of top 10 things celebrities wish they could say to Dave, because they all come out and say them, and like there's a couple surprises.
How long ago was this bit?
It was like the last season that he did his show. But you'll recognize.
There's a few
everybody.
surprises from this clip from 10 years ago.
Not like that. Fuck. Fucking asshole. Fucking jerk. Wow.
Whoa.
Somebody got all tied the
It's game over, man. It's game over.
I don't know what I was trying to do, but yeah, what are you talking about?
It's a long box.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go first.
Fuck you.
Or you go.
Go ahead.
Fuck you.
I'm
You
gonna
go.
You know what?
first.
Go ahead. I gotta take a piss. I'll be
Wow.
right back. I don't give a fuck what you want. Or read or listen to. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
Tell me your story.
Tell me your story. Walking. Get the fuck out of here.
Whoa, Baron.
Baron. What's the
You
spice?
said walking, so I thought you walking in Memphis.
You better do the fucking Seinfeld right now. Walking to Memphis.
Eat your butler, Jerry.
So, I've been watching movies right now.
No shit.
Shut up. Lately, I've been watching a lot of movies that are typically like classics that I've never seen, or like guy flicks, war movies. Great Escape. Go ahead.
Yes.
Great Escape. The Dirty Dozen.
What?
The Magnificent Seven.
What?
You got one more? And now-
No. What?
And now,
No, that's the big ones.
we got one more.
but-
This one.
Yeah, but it's okay. Sure, An Invitation to a Gunfighter.
Cheeky Watiti.
No, damn it! My finger is slipped.
Weird. He was making movies like 20 years before he was born. His grandfather, Tiki Waititi, did this movie.
He's famous for.
Pew pew quip. Pew pew quip.
He originated that style of cinema that we've enjoyed since the 30s.
What?
So, one of the fun things about streaming is that you really don't have to pay for streaming services. Now, there are a couple that I want to keep, like I want to keep Disney Plus, I want to keep Max, but the rest of them are just kind of there to have for various reasons. Now, Peacock I'm going to want during football season, right? Because Sunday night football, right? Or no, Amazon's on Thursday, whatever. I'll have to have-
Amazon for
I'll have to
football.
have Prime, right? But if you can help it, you don't
Sorry,
have
I
to
didn't mean
have.
to play footsie with you.
I did. If you can help it, you don't have to pay for all these services. And there's a lot of recommendations that are like, wow, I've never heard of this or whatever. And one movie, I watched The Magnificent Seven, and I discovered that I really like Yul Brynner. He's cool, and he's a badass. And yep. Excuse me, I'm drinking a lot of Coke today.
I'm ballsy.
and gassy. But can I have that when you're doing
Yes,
your fucking long box?
actually,
you fucking jerk.
You should. It'd be funny, dude.
Oh my god, yeah, because I don't know any of them. But George Segal is also in this movie, and he is best known to me as Jack Gallo from the sitcom Just Shoot Me.
Oh yeah.
He was also the grandfather in The Goldbergs.
Okay.
Have you been watching?
Yeah, I
that
know.
show?
I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
He was a big movie star back in like 50s, 60s, 70s, and he's kind of the star, and Yul Brynner is the guy brought in to get rid of him, right? And it takes place in New Mexico. George Segal is a guy who's a rebel who fought for the South in the Civil War, but not because he was against slavery or because he was for, but because the rival in town like fought for the North. And they both, you know what I mean? Like that's it. There's no other reason other than that, right?
Yeah.
But he's known as a rebel, and like later on he talks about like I don't give a shit about that shit. I'm just fucking I hated that, whatever. And when he comes back from the war, his woman or his girl is taken by this other guy who's a total drunk, and he lost his arm in the war. And there's a lot of underlying shit going on in this movie. And what the big twist is that at the end of it, towards the end of it, Yul Brynner, who is from the Ukraine, says he reveals to this woman that he's actually black. He's a freed slave. And so that's why he's going after this rebel. But there's a lot more to it than that, because there's like, the people in town that are in power in this town, like made promises to this guy, George Segal's character. And in the end, like George Segal's character and Yul Brynner's character kind of come to kind of an understanding that they're not the ones they're after. And there's kind of a big twist at the end, and it's interesting. But it's if you got time and you're bored, this is a rousing
If
review.
you got time.
No, but I'm not going to say. Trying to, you fuck. I'm not going to say go and check out this movie. If you're a Yul Brynner fan, you probably know about it. If you're a George Segal fan, you might not have heard of it. But it is a worthwhile like Sunday afternoon movie. It's free, I think, on Tubi. And there's a lot of great movies like that. Shit, we watched
Scanner Darkly
on Tubi. So, there's Roku, Tubi, and basically what we're trying to say is Roku or Tubi, give us a fucking sponsorship.
Wow.
I'll eat your ass.
No, I'm sorry.
Why did I give you the soundboard?
Nice.
Crack cocaine.
Okay, let's do this.
Pew pew quip. Pew. Tiki, what?
Godspeed.
I got what? I'll eat your.
Get good.
Is your
Video.
What?
I fucking love this thing.
one?
Stop.
Crack cocaine.
All right. Thank you, Glenn Beck.
You're going straight to hell.
Go straight there, y'all. So I have a book. Pick.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, I have a book to talk about. It's called Little Heaven, written by Nick Cutter, which is actually a pen name for Craig Ferguson. He got famous off I think it was Raw and Bone or something like that.
Brilliant.
He made a book about he had the movie The Fighter, I think was based on one of his books. But anyway, he has a pseudonym of Nick Cutter when he does horror books. I read his first one, The Troop. He has another one called The Deep. But this one is Little Heaven. It's an interesting bit of horror that because I've talked about on the show. I've done the Spooktaculars with our friend Grace, and I'll probably do it again this year.
I'll drink your blood.
Sure, spooky stuff. So, I usually when I tend to read books, I read horror books, which is funny because like I'll read pretty much anything, but that seems to be the genre that I tend to enjoy reading, which is weird because this book in particular, when I describe it to other people, what I've read, they're like, "Why the fuck did you read this?" And I'm like, I can't.
It's your fault. It's your fault. Be mad at yourself.
You were friends with me. That's your fault. So, essentially, what this book is about, it focuses on. What I like about it is it's in parts, and then it has chapters within those parts, and a lot of the times they're told from different perspective. but it's a way of catching you, the reader, up on where every character is, because the book it does a good job of plotting and understanding there are a lot of characters in this book, and he knows how to pace the book in a way to keep these, like, okay, this is where this character was when this thing happened. So it's a way of like crossing out questions that I have, and I like that of the narrative style of having it like the same perspective, but like a few minutes before what happens. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And it kind of has a little bit of the approach like of classic Stephen King of like It, where the story starts in 1980, but majority of it is happening in 1966, 65 in that area. And then the story ends in 1980, and that kind of like wraps it up. But it has to deal with a cult, but the cult is kind of like a lower aspect of it, because I was looking up reviews of it while I was reading it, of what people thought about it, because I just wanted to think, because I was like, I don't know, this is kind of an interesting book. It's kind of weird, kind of not, I'm not quite vibing with it yet. And I got to a certain point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm really fucking enjoying this book. I really like this book. And it was a point, but I kept telling Ashley when I was talking about it, I said it reminds me a lot of like From Dusk Till Dawn, where it felt like the first 100 or so pages of this book, it feels like I'm reading a certain book, and then we finally get to the compound where the cult is, and we finally get like in the heart of that shit, and that's when things just... Then it feels like a horror book. Then it starts to make sense. And then like I'm not saying that the book takes needs 100 pages to get to that point. But when the horror shit finally starts to fill in and come in, it's fucking bonkers, dude. And I
got what I paid for.
Well, I did, because I got it from the library. Shout out to local libraries. So I'm not going to spoil the book, but like, because it's hard to even explain it, but there's just some...
What'd you do?
There's been a lot of characters are saying throughout this book when something happens. They're like, what?
Kill me!
Some of them say that. Yeah. But it's very cosmic horror, very Lovecraftian, and more of like this existential doom, because you keep... It also, again, I cannot express enough how well paced this book is, and how like drip feeding the information it comes at you, of like flashing
Sloppy.
back. It is a little bit back and forth. Well, that's a lot of the gore. Also, this book is extremely fucking gory, and I do love a good gory book. I'm sorry, I'm a gore whore. That's what it is.
Go Hagen, you got what you want.
Give
Give
those
these people air.
gore. You know? Are you done? I'm done.
Are you?
Yeah. 'Cause
Really?
you know, on the other side, it's pretty annoying.
Oh, are you done? Are you asking me if I'm done with this? Or
No.
are you done? I want you to finish.
No, I wasn't gonna finish my thought. No, at one of the reviews I read, it says it feels like classic Stephen King and classic like Clive Barker and stuff. And this book,
I never read any Clive Barker. I read a shitload of Stephen King.
I understand the comparisons, because it does feel a lot like classic King, and it feels a lot of like the gore aspect of it is very Clive Barker. Like, it is very gory and very spooky, and like, but then there's like really cool moments of like, because it's three mercenaries, and one of them served in Korea, and he talks about, there's a description of him having a shotgun, and he loads it, and then he takes puts a couple shells in each pocket, and then takes 2 shells and sticks them in his mouth. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then as the next thing is like, he kept the shells in his mouth because it's a trick he learned in Korea, where it's just easier to spit them directly, like just directly into the gun and load it. Like, it's easier access from your mouth to the gun. Yeah. I'm like, there's just like little details in this book that are like, that's a cool detail that this like to show. And like throughout the story, they always say that Micah, who this character is, like, he is just always cool and calm in these situations. Like, he doesn't get rattled because he saw some shit. Like, he goes into detail of like a torture scene that happened, and like, so he saw some shit in Korea. And like, that's another thing with the story, is not all these people are good people. So when some of them get fucking viciously killed, you're like, I'm okay with that. It does these things of like, it just, and this is what I kind of think is funny about it. It does like these classic horror things where like there's a character that's brought in who's a shit character. He's always played as this jerkbag character, and then to almost justify you as the reader being okay reading about this guy being like ripped to ribbons by this situation, like this gruesome death, it describes that he like sexually assaulted someone, sexually assaulted a woman. So it's almost like the book is saying like, hey, this guy's a sexual predator and a piece of shit. So you're going to be okay watching him get like vicious or reading about him being viciously murdered, right? You know what I mean? It's like that horror trope of like, this person's really shitty, so we're going to kill them in a gruesome way.
Yeah. King did that a lot.
Yeah. So, and yeah, there are moments.
What they're saying to that character is, "Ew, fuck you."
And you know what? That character is a shitbag, and he deserved it.
Bad mother crusher. Crack cocaine.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yes!
if you like cosmic horror, if you like existential dread, and you just like crazy fucking wacky, gory horror books, check out Little Heaven. So big fan. Can I have the board back?
I'll eat your ass.
Okay. That happens at one point. Really? Some dude just eats another dude.
There's a whole
ass.
scene between two guys in the mountains of Colorado in The Stand that I will not repeat here because it's
dude,
awful.
I swear King has a real problem with putting
Right?
sexual assault.
Do you know what
in
I'm talking
books.
about?
No, but I know
Okay.
he puts like, I know about the
I read
It-
the unabridged but
Yeah.
I read the unabridged version of The Stand, like, and it took me like 3 months because it's huge.
so long.
But there's this whole, like, he goes on for pages, and I'm like, I don't need this much detail.
Oh yeah, no. When I read the scene in this book about it, I was like, okay, I got the point. Like, it doesn't get too far. Like, it doesn't get too graphic.
I don't need to know what the nostrils in, like, the butt cheek of the dude, what that's like. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need you to get that detailed. I don't want to know from the one dude if the other dude's tongue feels like sandpaper.
Or how hairy it is.
Right. Or if he's sweaty because he just got done running. And if that turns him on or not. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to.
That is borderline erotica.
Right?
Was he writing erotica?
Erotica. Featuring two gays.
You thought it was going to be chicks, but it's dicks.
Is it that song by Elvis Costello? Erotica.
I'm so hot for her. Yeah. I've had to pee for like the last 10 minutes. And we could have stopped. But
There's a fucking bottle right over there in the corner. Jesus. I could have got it for you.
wow.
Listen, we don't stop the show for
pee breaks?
duration.
Because this is live. We don't record
No.
it. We can't stop it.
Live it. Once we cannot press stop until it's done.
Listen here, Stephen King. We don't care about how this man's salad was tossed in Colorado. All right? Is that what you're talking about?
Sure.
I've never read The Stand.
Don't.
So it could be about eating butts. I don't know.
Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.